spiritual insight, practical wisdom. Join us as we transform the world one woman at a time. Women of Grace, for such a time as this. Now, here's your host, Johnnette Williams.
Well, good morning, everyone, and Happy New Year to you. It is so good to be with you today. It is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. What a wonderful way to begin this new year, to have this opportunity to use the airwaves for the honor and glory of God and to be with each one of you. As you know, Women of Grace is a live broadcast, and so it is that we invite you to call us at 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986. Just pick up the phone. We're here for you today. You can also join us out there in social media land. All you need to do is go to EWTN Radio's YouTube channel and Facebook page and use the chat feature. And you can put your name in there, the way that you are with us, as well as the question or comment that you would like to make. Jeff Burson, our social media manager and producer, will dash out there, grab it, put it up on the board for us. We have Ryan Penny, who is doing our call screening today. Be sure to say howdy hey to him and let him know if you're a first-time caller, and I'll ring my virtual ding-dong bell to welcome you to the show today. Ding-dong, ding-dong. It'll go something like that, since I don't have a bell with me today. It is Monday. It is indeed. It's the first Monday of this new year, and it's the first Monday of January, and that means that it is Monthly Marriage Monday. There we go. I got it right. And I am joined here in studio by my husband, Jack Williams, and we're going to be talking about all things marriage today. And so we're excited, and we hope you are too. So give us a call, 833-288-3986. That's 833-288-EWTN. Well, good morning to you again, Jack.
Good morning. How are you?
I am very chipper.
You were like 11 minutes early.
I know. Don't get used to it.
You know what we do? Well, one thing that
thing.
we've been doing on these monthly Marriage Mondays is it seems like, not by design, but it seems like every time we've kind of pulled the curtain back and given the listeners a little backstage look into the inner workings of EWTN radio and our marriage and other things. And
I know.
And so what a lot of our listeners may not know.
Uh-oh. I always worry when he prefaces things by those kinds of words, because
Yeah.
I know it's usually going to be something about me. Is it going to be?
Maybe so.
Oh, shucks. Here we go. Okay.
Yes. But what our listeners may not be aware of is that you make use of every possible moment of time that leads up to your commitment on radio.
Yes.
And you were like 11 minutes early today.
I know. It's
I had
an
to take the
amazing
defibrillator off the wall and put it to our producer, Jeff Burson, and revive him. He went into cardiac arrest when he saw you here 11 minutes early.
I know. It is a scary thing. Well, St. Paul says to make use of every opportunity, and I try to make good on that passage of Scripture. And I, frankly, what he's trying to say without saying it, so I'll say it for him, is that I tend to be late a lot. But I generally get to where I need to be on time, generally.
Eventually.
Not always, but, when it comes to radio and television, I'm there.
You're better than you were a couple years ago.
Well, thank you for that, Jack.
You're welcome.
Maybe you had something to do with that. I'm not really sure. Living with the general manager, well, then sometimes things happen. But all of that being said, the reality is that I was born 2 weeks late. And it's been something I've been trying to overcome my entire life. And I haven't quite caught up yet, but I'm making progress. And if we can see progress from year to year, that's a good thing, right?
There you go.
Yeah, so we're going to just say
kudos
to Johnnette today.
There you go.
11
kudos
minutes
to
early.
Johnnette. That's right.
There you
Woo-hoo!
go. Thank you very much for that affirmation.
So it's 2021.
Yes, it is.
Right?
Yes, it is.
And we take these first Mondays of the month to focus on marriage, and we would love for you to pick up the phone and give us a call. We would love nothing more than to take your phone calls nonstop for the entire hour.
Yes, we would.
833-288-EWTN is our toll-free number. It's a free phone call anywhere in North America. 833-288-3986. And if you don't live in North America, do not fear, because we have a number for you.
We do.
That number is 1-205-271-2985, and we'll not only give you that number, but we'll put you straight to the front of the line if you call us from outside of North America at 1-205-271-2985. So we talk a little bit about what we want to focus on for this particular thing, and it seemed appropriate to talk about, sort of, not resolutions per se, but it's the beginning of a new year. It's a great sort of I think our minds are wired to look at things in orderly fashion, and it's kind of an orderly time to take an inventory of what's gone on in the past and look forward to what might be coming in the future. And so, all of us have a propensity as human persons for getting in ruts, whether it be personally or whether it be as a couple. And it might be a good time to just, kind of take a step back. And I was sharing with you this morning that I think one of the problems or one of the mistakes that we make, if we identify that we might be in a little bit of a rut, or if we want to just kickstart something that's not necessarily in a rut but maybe needs a little kickstart, is we'll bite off more than we can chew.
Yes.
And then we end up doing nothing. And that's a problem. So we thought it might be good to encourage our listeners today to do something for your marriage, just some small thing that you're not doing now that is easily accomplishable to move you forward into 2021. And you, the queen of the acronym and the queen of alliteration and the queen of the alphabet, came up with a great idea for how to encourage our listeners to do just that.
Well, yes, I did, because, I think things have to be pretty simple. And I think that we need ways that we can remind ourselves of what it is that we're about. And before I share my little idea for what can help, I wanted to just touch on what you've said here. And I think that this is a common human frailty that we do. And we see ourselves doing it, in Lent. I always advise people, and Lent is really right around the corner here. And I always advise people, when you're making a decision on how it is that you're going to practice mortification through Lent, make it reasonable, right? Because you if you can't accomplish it, then you feel very guilty about it, and it really undermines your spiritual state as opposed to benefiting from it. And so this applies in the same way, I think. And I think that your suggestion is that you just do little things, maybe inclusive of one or two things. So I came up with 3 E's, okay, 3 E's that I think would be very helpful. And the very first one, you demonstrated already. You did. He demonstrated it. He didn't even know it, and he felt
I
right.
knew it.
I knew it. You didn't know it.
I knew that I was encouraging you. Yes, I did. I knew it.
Well, he was encouraging me. Did you plan that?
Maybe.
Well, if you planned it, then you had to count on the fact that I would get it, and I got it. So Jack was encouraging me. So one of the very first E is encourage each other as a couple, right? You should try to encourage each other at least once a day, and there's more to come on the other side of the break here. But encouragement is very important. That affirmation that leads us in a good direction is very, very helpful in a marriage. It's very helpful in any relationship, but especially so in a marriage. And this is not, just coming up with anything here or flatterings or platitudes. It's noticing something that's really beneficial and commenting on it. We're going to be right back with you, 833-288-EWTN. Stay with us.
The words of Blessed Carlo Acutis.
Do not be afraid, because with the incarnation of Jesus, death becomes life, and there's no need to escape. In eternal life, something extraordinary awaits us.
I firmly believe that prayer is communication with God, and if we know that God is a loving Father, why wouldn't we want to talk to God? The reality is we've got to talk to our family, we've got to talk to our friends, and if God is real, and God is definitely real, He wants to hear about our day. He also wants to know how we're doing and what our needs are. Prayer is communication with God.
This is Kevin Burke of Priests for Life with Pro-Life Update. If all the abortions stop tomorrow, the work of healing the wounds will have only just begun. Moms, dads, grandparents, relatives, friends, abortionists all need healing from the devastation abortion brings. And we all need to accompany their healing with prayer. Now Father Frank Pavone has written a new booklet called In the Heart of His Mercy, with prayers we can all say for those wounded by abortion and special prayers for those with direct involvement in abortion. These prayers are based on Father Frank's long experience as worldwide pastoral director of Rachel's Vineyard, the world's largest ministry for healing after abortion, and of the Silent No More awareness campaign. The gospel of life is the gospel of mercy. Order In the Heart of His Mercy today at prolifeproducts.org. This is Kevin Burke on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
CNA is the only fast, reliable, and free Catholic news source that brings blogs, stories, and opinions to your fingertips. The latest Catholic news is at CatholicNewsAgency.com.
Encouraging women in their gift of authentic femininity. Here's more Women of Grace with Johnnette Williams.
Welcome back, friends. You're listening to Women of Grace Live. I am Johnnette Williams. Today is Monthly Marriage Monday. Jack Williams, my husband, is with me in studio. And we're chit-chatting about marriage, and we're talking about not falling into ruts. And if we're in a rut, you know, we need to get out of the rut and maybe even just jumpstart something. And we're going to be sharing more about that in a minute. But because we are talking about family life today, you know, I just wanted to mention that EWTN's religious catalog has an absolutely beautiful Holy Family fine art stretched canvas print of the Holy Family. It's a beautiful portrait from the renowned collection of Fratelli Bonello artwork in Italy. It's one that's going to grace your home and remind you of the fact that our families are meant to imitate and be replicas, if you will, of the Holy Family to the extent that it's absolutely possible. And this beautiful print is on canvas. It's mounted on hardwood stretcher suitable for framing, or it can be displayed as it is with a small sawtooth hanger on the back. It's available, as I mentioned to you, at EWTN's religious catalog. That's EWTNRC.com. Now, you know, Jack, before we went to the break, we were talking about the fact that we have this sense that perhaps we need to be very intentional about the ways in which we conduct our married life, and that we don't want to find ourselves just getting into the daily grind and ignore the fact that we're called to be a light shining in the darkness, and we are called to be in a sense, a replica, a sign of the Holy Family itself. So we were chatting about the fact that we were talking about ways in which we can accomplish that, and I came up with 3 E's, and I shared with everybody that the very first E was to encourage each other, right? So every day, try to make a comment of affirmation to your spouse, to encourage your spouse in a given direction. And then there is a second E, and the second E is something that we should do once a week. We should enjoy. We should do something that we together enjoy doing, right? Once a week. Something that you like to do, no matter what it is, but something where the two of you find a common bond. You should enjoy a particular outing or a particular activity, or a particular time of prayer that really enhances your life together. And then once a month, I suggest that you plan to go to Eucharistic adoration together. Now, that should grow to once a week if you can let it do that. But many people have very busy schedules, especially young families. And if you can make it once a month to Eucharistic adoration. So, 1, encourage each other every day. 2, enjoy something together every week. And 3, go to Eucharistic adoration together at least once a month. What do you think of that plan?
I think it's good. And now, Eucharistic adoration opportunities have been limited by some of the restrictions that have been placed on our society by the current COVID situation. But EWTN offers Eucharistic adoration during the day, live streamed from our chapel right here on campus in Irondale. So if you go to EWTN.com and search for Eucharistic adoration, that could be an alternative if you, like for instance, you've lived in areas where there's no Eucharistic adoration in the best of times, let alone in difficult times.
Perpetual adoration.
Perpetual adoration, right. And so anyway, there are creative ways that you can
That's
fine
right.
to do that.
And even if the church is open, Jesus is reposed in the Blessed
That's
Sacrament
right.
in the tabernacle, so that still counts.
That's right.
I think.
If you
know.
can get in the church, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no question. And that weekly, do something that you enjoy doing together.
Yeah.
So we can watch a football game. What do you think of that?
It's something that we both enjoy, Jack.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't understand that part of it.
Yeah, I know. It's very sacrificial. But the fact of the matter is, watching football is purgatorial for me. I wish I could say I like it. I've tried, but I just don't. And we're not going to get into that because we'll get sidetracked into a long diatribe that I will share about why I don't like football. All of that being said, we like you, so why not give us a call? 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986. That's the way that you can join us right here on Women of Grace Live, where we do love having holy conversation with you. Also available to you out there in social media land. Get out there to EWTN Radio's YouTube channel and Facebook page. Use the chat feature there and put your question, comment, insight, inspiration, word of encouragement up there. Jeff Burson, our social media manager, and our producer will go and grab it. Ryan Penny waiting to hear from you on the phones there. If you're outside of North America, 1-205-271-2985 is the number to use, and I'll slow it down. It's country code 1-205-271-2985. We do have some callers, Jack. Do you want to go to the phone lines?
Absolutely.
Let's go to Kyle. He's in Grants Path, Oregon. He is listening to us via KJCR 107.9, and he is a first-time caller. So ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. Welcoming you, Kyle, today. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm well. How are you?
Very good. Thank you. Thanks for your call.
Thank you for taking it. It's interesting being a first-time radio caller.
Is it? What's interesting about it, Kyle?
I never thought I would be the kind of person to call into a talk radio show.
Well, we're happy you did. So welcome to the club of callers. So what's your question or comment this morning?
My comment is I'm actually engaged. I got engaged back in September.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I took my fiance to her first mass service this past Sunday.
Okay.
So I feel like it's necessary if someone's going to be marrying a Catholic to kind of immerse them in it before they find any news articles or anything bad, kind of pointed towards the church.
Well, I think that you're a very wise man. And, obviously there are a lot of misconceptions out there about our Catholic faith, some that have been passed on generationally through Protestant denominations and, sects. But the fact of the matter is, when we begin to understand the beauty and the wonder of the faith that is ours, and when people begin to enter into that, I think that their thoughts are expanded and they begin to want to know more about it. So I'm very glad and very pleased that you think that this is an important step. I want to ask you this question. How did your fiancée respond?
It was more of she didn't participate too much per se. She just kind of sat during Mass and took it all in. The hardest part about it was after on the ride home, she goes, well, why does the priest do this? Why does the priest wear that? And the only thing I can do is go, I don't know, let's look it up later.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that, because I would imagine that people would think that is very different than a Protestant service. And so this is helpful for you because it's going to cause you to get spiffed up on the knowledge of your own faith. I know Jack wants to respond. Go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, I mean, it's all part of what has been lacking in our culture, and that's preparation for marriage.
True.
What a concept.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's very important. And really, it's funny that you say that she would ask those questions because, I think about the questions that my children asked when they were very, very small. And they're the same sort of questions that you would expect anybody to ask who was not familiar with, Catholicism. I can remember when our oldest was a wee little thing, and, we're at Mass, and he leans over to Susie, and he says, "What's that guy cooking up there?" So, there are things that if you're not familiar with it, they would, seem foreign to you, and you would try to put them into the context of things that are, and I think the biggest thing you can do, and you can weigh in on this, is, don't make it some heavy, deep theological, there's very reasonable answers to all of those questions that don't have to be heavy or dark or deeply theological for people to explain what's going on.
Yeah, and what I would probably suggest that you do, Kyle, I'm going to recommend 2 books for you. The one, get a copy of the Catechism of the Catholic Church. That's going to be invaluable to you as you walk your fiancé through the Mass, but in addition to that, also through the various kinds of teachings that the church has. And it's going to be very helpful for you too, because even as you're bringing her along, your own heart and mind will expand with knowledge of the truth. And I think that it will be a deepening of experience for you. It always is for me when I read the Catechism of the Catholic Church. There's always something new that I see, or I perceive it in a different way. The Holy Spirit illumines our hearts and our minds in glorious, glorious ways through the Catechism of the Catholic Church. So get a copy of that. Pretty inexpensive. You can get a small one for about $10 or a little larger one, depending upon what you want. The other book that I would recommend is one, and there's many books out there, contemporary books that you can find on the Mass, but probably the quintessential one of our time was written by Dr. Scott Hahn, a Catholic convert. He's a convert to Catholicism, and he himself had to discover more about the mystery of the Holy Sacrifice of the Mass, and he shares it with us in a book called The Lamb's Supper. The Lamb's Supper. And it's a beautiful book about the Mass and about the realities that are taking place there on the altar and why it is a sacrifice. And I think that your own appreciation will be enhanced by the Catechism and also by Dr. Scott Hahn's book. So I recommend those to you. And then there are, other books that are out there that walk you through the Mass to tell you what's going on the altar, what each part of the vestments of the priest represents, and why they wear them. And I think that you're going to find, just a whole new world for you there. So I'm happy for you, and I'm happy that your fiancé consented, and I'm happy that you're leading her through. And I think it's going to be a delightful and holy experience for the two of you, and a wonderful beginning to your preparation for marriage and your married life together. Wouldn't you say, Jack?
I would. And one of the greatest things you've done is you've called into the program, so now you're going to have all of our listeners praying for you guys.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And you'll have Jack and myself praying for you too. So we'll tuck you into our rosary. How's that?
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Well, we're so happy for you and happy you called. And, don't be a stranger. Call back. Let us know how it's going. And anytime you run up against something, or a question that you might have, EWTN Radio has fine programs where you can call in and talk to theologians, call in and talk to Bible scholars, scripture scholars, and shows like this one where you can, just call in about any question that you might have. We're here for you.
God bless, Kyle. Thanks so much for the phone call.
Bye, Kyle. And we're encouraging, you're so welcome. We're encouraging you to call us too. It's 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986. And we've got Anne Marie on the line from Cleveland, Ohio. She is listening to us via The Rock. All kinds of good people work there at The Rock. She's a first-time caller.
Ding, 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 ding.
Oh, Jack did the bell sound. That was very nice, dear.
Oh.
How are you, Anne Marie?
I think I'm okay, but I think I keep telling myself I'm okay, but I'm not really okay. Does that make sense?
I think so.
Okay. We have been married 36 years. We've been married 36 years.
Okay.
And it just seems that I'm always pulling stuff out of my husband. As far as even ideas to do, places to go, anything, any books we could read together, any devotions we could do, anything we could do together, it's always me bringing it up. Any plans about the whole family has always been me, and I ask for help. In the best ways that I can, kindly, gently, in a comical way. We have a big family, and they're adults. They're all adults now, and it just seems it's getting harder now with grandkids because it's again me. let's do this with the grandkids. Let's go. And early on in our marriage, he was reluctant to do stuff. It was like, we're not always going to be doing stuff with the family. And it's all just coming like to a head, and I just did not have a good Christmas because of it.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry I'm rambling, but it's just, I don't know where to turn.
I'm so sorry, Anne-Marie. I really am so very sorry. Jack, what do you say to Anne-Marie, being a man yourself?
Well, I have a shocking revelation that I've got to drop on Anne-Marie.
What is
and
that?
I hope that she's prepared to hear it. But Anne-Marie, you have married a guy. That's got a lot to do with what you've been dealing with over the years. I'm a guy. I've spent the majority of my life around other guys, and we don't tend to. This is not a shocking revelation for me to hear that this is the way that a husband would be reacting to his wife's efforts to get him to steer the boat a little bit. And I'm sure it's not the first time you've heard this, and I'm pretty sure it's not the first time you've experienced it, Johnnette. Huh?
Well, I think that.
But when you
go ahead.
You're on the radio, and I realize that part of this is you both try to be encouraging, and that's great. But you just seem like you have this magic between you that I've lost.
Yeah.
We spend hours driving from church and back, place to place, and there's no conversation.
Yeah.
I'm tired. I'm just physically tired of putting forth effort.
Yeah.
I love him. I do. He's been a good husband as far as providing for the family.
Yes.
I've been able to be a stay-at-home, and now I just wonder if I should have been a stay-at-home, been out more with people, because I feel so alone. Mm-hmm. And I've tried to nicely, years and years of trying to explain this, and he kind of brushes it off as, that's the way I am.
Yeah,
I'm just, if you could give me some place to turn to, I would do it in an instant.
Yeah, and and I'm going to share something very personal with you right now. I'm hearing your story, and I'm seeing a couple whom I love very much, and that's my parents. My dad was very happy to just sit in the house and watch TV, basically football, which is probably why I dislike football so much, and sports. I'm serious. My sister's the same way, it was not a criticism of my dad in a negative way. He was a great dad. He was a great provider. He was a great husband. He adored my mother, but my mother wanted to do activities outside of the home. And in their younger years, she would drag him along, and he would agree. But the older he got, the less he wanted to do. And it became a real tense point in their marriage. You hear that music, I want you to stay with us,
Yeah,
Anne-Marie.
do not go anywhere, Anne-Marie. Stay right there.
Stay right there. And we're inviting you to call us too, 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986. It's the way that you can join us live here on Women of Grace Live. It is Monthly Marriage Monday. Jack Williams, my husband, is with me on the air today. We're inviting you to call in with your question or your comment and use EWTN Radio's YouTube channel and Facebook page. The chat feature is there for you too. We're going to be right back. Stay with us.
Apple TV allows you to instantly stream EWTN to your TV. Get EWTN today. All you need is a high-speed internet connection, a TV, and the Apple TV player.
The leading Catholic voices are on EWTN Radio.
We've started doing these shows. Call in if you're an atheist. Call in if you want to redefine marriage. Those are the kind of shows that make very engaging radio. We're going to continue to try to reach out to the fringes and find those people who fundamentally disagree with us. And we're going to continue to create shows that are going to reach out to those people to draw them in to the fullness of the truth.
Catholic Answers Live, tonight, 6 Eastern on EWTN Radio.
This is Mike and Alicia Hernan with a Messy Family Minute. It's often said that kindness begins at home. But sometimes this is the most challenging place to be kind. Families' days are rushed, and it seems as if parents are just taxi drivers, getting people from place to place. Sometimes we need to pause and make a renewed effort to form our children in kindness.
One of the first ways to instill kindness is by requiring kind behavior, or as we often say, fake it till you make it. When you require and train your young child to act with kindness, very often the heart follows. Begin with the action and you'll be training their heart as well. Another key element is to catch your kids in the act of doing good. Praise their courteous behavior and affirm their identity as a kind and generous person. Often we focus on catching our kids being bad. We need to be just as eager to catch them doing good.
To hear our 7 ways to form your kids in kindness and our complete podcast on this subject, visit us at messyfamilyminute.org.
Hi, this is Dr. David Anders. There are a lot of misconceptions about the Catholic faith. We clear them up on Call to Communion, coming up this afternoon, 2 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio. Now, back to Women of Grace with Johnnette Williams.
Transforming the world one woman at a time. Let's return to Women of Grace with Johnnette Williams.
Women of Grace Live. I am Johnnette Williams, absolutely delighted and happy to be with you today. It is Monthly Marriage Monday. Jack Williams is in studio with me today. He is my husband. We're talking about all things marriage. We were talking a little bit about ways in which we can prevent ourselves from getting into a rut. We offered you 3 ways, at least once a day, offer a word of encouragement to our spouse. At least once a week, do something together that you enjoy as a couple. And then at least once a month, try to get to Eucharistic adoration. Not hard to do, reasonable, bite-sized chunks. You can certainly increase all of those if you would like, but you will be accomplishing something if you don't already have these in place. And we had Anne Marie on the line with us. She was calling us from Cleveland, and you could hear, Jack, in Anne Marie's voice, the suffering that she's enduring, because she's always been the one who's done the planning for any kind of activity in the family, and her husband has hung back. And it sounds as if she's having trouble rousing him to do much of anything. And I was sharing about my parents, and that my dad was absolutely happy to do very little, especially as he grew older, to the consternation and sorrow of my mom, who loved social activities and wanted to do more things together. But Dad didn't. Some of that came after serious illness. But all that being said, that was never resolved in their marriage. But Anne Marie, what I want to tell you is this. After my mother passed, my mother preceded my dad in death. And Dad, when he would sit and open his heart to me, he would share with me about how sad he was that he didn't satisfy my mother in that way, that he did hang back. And he said, we should have done more together. And, and I think that if there's any gentleman listening today, it's important to consider that, because, you should make use of every opportunity that you have, and your marriage and the happiness of your wife is very, very important. And your happiness is important too. And there's something about sacrificial love where you go out of your way and you die to self. Even if you don't want to do it, you do it anyway, and you offer it to the Lord as a sacrifice of praise. And it endears your wife to you. And you should want that. I would say to you, Anne Marie, maybe this, you did mention that, you have this drive back and forth for Mass together. Maybe words of encouragement to him. I'm so happy we went to Mass together. I love when we have opportunities to share time together. And just gradually begin that. You've been married 36 years. My guess is that you've been doing this all of the 36 years. So that becomes a very difficult pattern of behavior to change. But it isn't to say that it cannot change, but it's going to take your effort to help it to change. And that has to come through encouragement and affirmation, not criticism. I just know that from experience, let me tell you. Jack.
And I would just give a little message to all the guys that are out there, and we've talked about this before. I can remember when as our family was growing and developing and going to Mass as a family, and you would walk past pew after pew after pew of women and their children. And you could see just the witness of you walking past these poor women with your whole family intact, going to Mass. You could see the hurt in their eyes. And you could see the desire clearly in their eyes that they wished their husband was there.
Mm-hmm.
And, so my message to guys would be, give your head a shake. If you're not taking care of your family spiritually, you need to be.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to you can't create situations in your own household where, poor faithful women like Anne Marie have to make phone calls like this. It's not good. And Anne Marie, I would encourage you, as Johnnette said, just to, and don't look for responses or expect responses, but just very, very, and I would even word things a little differently than Johnnette did when you would be on your way home from Mass. I would just simply say, thank you for going to Mass with me.
Mm-hmm.
Just as simple as that. Don't expect a response. Don't look for a response. But if you continue to plant those seeds, you might be surprised when they sprout and start to grow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it is difficult. Jack and Anne Marie, I don't know if you're aware of it or not, but Jack and I, this is our second marriage. We both lost our spouses and we remarried, so we had a lot to think about prior to our actual wedding ceremony and pronouncing those beautiful words of I do and commitment and love. And we talked about different things, and one of the things that we talked about was that we do in marriage tend to get into ruts of behavior, right? And we tend sometimes to have ways of interacting together that are healthy and ways of interacting together that are unhealthy. And we were able to spot some of those in our prior marriages and make a decision not to do that as we came together, or to work against those inclinations that we might have because of that in this marriage. And so, it might be interesting within the context of your situation to look at what some of those might be and to try to make definitive changes. The thing of it is, Father Ed Sylvia, who had been with me on radio for many, many years and on television as well, had a saying, if nothing changes, nothing changes. The fact of the matter is, you recognize the need for the change. Your husband doesn't. So therefore, the one that needs to do the changing is you. And I hate to say that because it sounds like, well, why should it be me? I do everything as it is. I get that. But it's because you understand something he doesn't. And it's because, you are the one who has the capacity to bring about the change, and he seems to be locked in. And that's a hard thing to hear, Jack, but usually the one that gets the fact that there's a change that needs to be made is the one that God is prompting and giving the grace to make the change. And that's not to say that you need to do more. I'm not suggesting that.
Right.
Maybe you need to do less. I don't know. But pray. The Holy Spirit will guide
For
and
sure.
lead you.
Pray. Pray. And pray. I would pray specifically even that our Lord would bring a man into his life that could speak some of these truths to his heart,
Mm-hmm.
that he might, receive from even more so than you. But, it's important to understand that you're not dealing with another woman.
Right.
And that's
Praise be to God.
that's really kind of the point I was trying to make at the outset, is that, your husband is a guy. And he is, and you can't, you have to take that into consideration if you expect to get any kind of result that you're hoping for.
Well, yeah, it's true. And also, temperaments and personality types factor into this too.
Absolutely, they do.
And some people are just, more melancholy, and some are more sanguine, some guys, they're all about doing things and putting things in place, and they like to lead the charge in that way. Other men are not. Same with women. Some women, are they're very happy just to nest. Other women, they want to be on the move, and so we work through these things as a couple. So I just don't want her to give up. That's all. I just don't want her to give up.
Absolutely. Shannon's watching us on YouTube, and we've still got plenty of time for your phone calls and a couple of open lines at 833-288-EWTN. That's 288-3986. Shannon is watching on YouTube, and she says she wanted to share that her sister gave her an emerald and diamond ring for Christmas to put on her ring finger to let people know that she's married until the church approves her annulment. That's a bit of a refreshing story. We're usually putting the cart before the horse in these situations in our culture. Oftentimes we're out and about doing things that someone who's still married. The point being that in the eyes of Holy Mother Church, they take people at their word, and until such time as the marriage tribunal has had an opportunity to investigate the situation, if you claim to have been married previously, then the church would assume that you were married previously. Mm-hmm. And I think that putting a ring on that finger until such time as the church has determined that you are free to marry is a good thing.
Well, I think so too. And it may even be that you just leave your wedding ring on your finger until such time, as the church approves. Should the church approve? Because the church doesn't always approve a request for a decree of nullity.
The church just helps you discern the reality of the situation.
That's right. And it takes it back to the moment that the vows were made, not anything that happens after. And that's hard for people to understand frequently, especially in cases of adultery. People say, yes, but he cheated on me or she cheated on me, which is a regrettable reality. But unless there's a history of that preceded, the church will look at it differently. Right. So
now, as we talked about with Kyle earlier, mm-hmm. the complete and total lack of substantive formation prior to marriage mm-hmm. lends itself to their awfully frequently being impediments that are present at that moment.
That's exactly right. 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986. We have Joan with us. She's in Michigan. She is with us via Facebook, but she's calling in, and we're happy for that. Joan, how are you?
Oh, I am well. Thank you so much for taking my call.
You're welcome.
Hey, I wanted to add to a thought for Anne Marie in that, I'm part of that generation with a 30-year marriage and whatnot, and finding out, looking back, how much I led the household and I led all the activities, and then you just kind of hit that dry spell. And one of the things that I think the Holy Spirit called me to do was I utilized the Catholic radio show More to Life with Greg and Lisa Popchak. Mm-hmm. And I just really believe, because we come from a generation where communication wasn't the same as it is now, the resources weren't the same, and all of a sudden, you kind of end up coming to parts of life where you have time to reflect, and you kind of look at it going, wow, this is where we're at, and wow, I've been doing the lion's share. And I just would highly encourage, if you find that dryness, you can't get over there's communication bump, it helps heal you, but it also helps give you tools to work on your relationship, because she said she loves him deeply, as I do my husband, but sometimes, always in kindness, as you guys said, and in little ways, but, also even in a car, all the great Lighthouse Media Catholic CDs or the CDs you guys sell, and there's little ways to maybe break open some new knowledge, with your mm-hmm. husband to share, just kind of on the sideline if they have these long drives and whatnot. So I just wanted to add that, because I think
that's awesome on Monthly Marriage Monday with Jack, Johnnette, and Joan.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
I just so appreciate, because I've grown so much. I was a cradle Catholic, but of course I, didn't have a lot of examples. I, went to Catholic school till 8th grade, but, it's just, the seeds were there. And it really has been through Catholic radio that I found a lot of healing, and I found the depth of what I really was always yearning to know. And the greatest thing that we want in life is relationship with God, but also relationship with our spouse.
Absolutely.
And it takes a lot of work.
Well, it's true, but I think that you hit on something so very important. And Kyle, I hope you're still listening too, because I think Joan's advice is really excellent advice for you too, as you continue on your path of engagement toward marriage. And Joan, I think you're absolutely right. Sometimes we just have to strive to break open new areas that we haven't explored before. That's part of the beauty of married life, is that there are seasons. And when there are these seasons and it seems as though there are roadblocks, those roadblocks really might not be roadblocks at all. They might be opportunities to grow in a new direction or to take a different route than you've been taking. And so, we can look at that roadblock as an obstacle or a hindrance, or we can see it as, an opportunity, a challenge to be engaged, to try to take us further in our relationship. But you point out something very important. I think it's true to say, Jack, that marriage takes work. It doesn't just happen, and it takes work on both sides. But somebody's got to start digging that road first.
Yeah, it does. There's no question. And again, I would holler to the men, that you've got to do your part. You've got to pick up the rope and you've got to pull in the same direction as your wife is pulling.
That's right.
If you guys are going to get, where you want to get. And, we talk about our parents. We talk about, my parents were much the same as your parents. They, and my mother passed away, a year and a half, going on 2 years ago now, and my dad is now reaping, the crop from some of the decisions that he made over the years, and some of the, quite frankly, antisocial decisions that he made that you talked about. Your dad was the same way, and now he's living with the consequences of those things now. Whereas if he would have, addressed these things and worked with these things with my mom, he'd been in a much better position than he is today in many regards.
Yeah. There's no question about it. And also, too, I want to mention, for the sake of Anne-Marie and all of you listening, Marriage Encounter and Retrovi are both possible. Retrovi is for marriages that are
having some difficulties.
They're struggling. And Marriage Encounter is for good marriages to get better. And there's no time frame on that. Young couples can participate in both, as well as people that have been married for several years. So those are opportunities, and suggestions like that can be made and hopefully followed through on, and that can really be a great jumpstart to moving in a new direction. Joan, thanks so much. Excellent suggestions you made today. And, once again, it gives me an opportunity to just tout the fact that Catholic radio is such a great gift that we have today. And I just truly believe that, when God inspired Mother Angelica back in 1992 to start a shortwave radio network, her just saying yes to that, giving rise to the fertility of that fiat that's led to all that is available today. God obviously knew what he was doing, because in this our day and time, we need to hear the good news broadcast, and we need to find practical solutions through our faith to the troubles and to the very real challenges and threats that are ours in this our day and time. So, Joan, I'm glad that you're a participant in Catholic radio. Our listeners are participants because they spread the good news too, and you use this very same medium to do that today. And thank you for that. We appreciate it. God bless you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We have Anne with us. She is in Peoria, Illinois. St. Bernadette is the way she's listening to us. Hey, Anne, how are you?
Hi, Johnnette. Just a little nervous here to talk, but I've been married for a little over 30 years, and my husband left 2 months ago.
Oh, dear.
And,
Anne.
Yeah, so he suffers depression, and I believe that's what happened. But you talk about encouraging him and everything. I don't know how to do that. He doesn't want to work on our marriage. He has no interest. He'll talk a little bit with me, but it's very small talk. This almost happened 6 years ago, and I I kind of sing in the same tune as these other ladies. I'm the one who carried everything, making sure we've worked on our marriage, pulling him along in books and whatever else I could do. And he left. So I don't know what to do with that. I don't know how much to fight. I do talk to my priest, but I just don't know where to go with it.
So, Anne, let me ask you this question. Did he give you a reason why he was leaving?
That he was just very unhappy. And he still loves me. He still wants to be a friend. I don't know how that works, but he cares about me, but he just doesn't love me enough to stay home. I'm confused on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we've never fought. That's what surprises me. We did everything together. So it's just left, gave me like a 2-day notice and just left.
I am so sorry.
I didn't have a chance to fight.
Yeah, I am so sorry.
Well, this is, I think first and foremost, obviously it takes two to tango, and I'm sure that there have been contributions that have been made by each of you. But I think the key thing for Anne at this moment is, Anne, that this is not your fault. You're not responsible for the decisions that your husband has made. And it's tough, man. This is, thanks be to God, I've never been in this situation, and I've never had to deal with this. But, this is, I think, a good time to take stock in the fact that, when we enter into a covenantal matrimonial relationship, our primary mission is to get that other person to heaven. And we may have an image or an idea in our head of what that looks like and what the earthly steps will take to make that happen may be. And our Lord may have other ideas for how we accomplish that. And, you at this stage of your life, at least for a season, your participation in getting your spouse to heaven may very well be by yourself on your knees for a while.
Yeah.
And it's
yeah,
not.
I'm afraid so.
But you never know. You never know what kind of fruit that's going to yield. You never know exactly what kind of seeds are going to be planted in the heart of your husband, through your prayers. You may not even know the way you carry yourself through this situation, the kind of witness that it might be to other people that makes a difference in their relationships and in their lives. Yeah. Where one door, we're not saying this door is closed by any stretch, but where one door closes, another may open.
What I was thinking to myself, Anne, is that, first of all, there's nothing that you can do to change his mind right now. The only thing that you can do is to pray to change his heart. So I think that what Jack is suggesting is really good advice. And that doesn't mean that you give up. It doesn't mean that you stop communication with him. It certainly doesn't mean any of those things. But it does mean that you take even the suffering that you're feeling in your heart, which really is the greatest of all prayer, to take that suffering and to offer it on his behalf, offer it to the Lord on his behalf for him. There is something very powerful in that. It's the type of prayer that Jesus offered on the cross. But my heart is aching for you because of the sense of betrayal and the sense of abandonment and the sense of rejection that you're experiencing. So you pray for him, and I'll pray for you. And I know all of our listeners will pray for you too as you make it through these very, very dark moments and difficult moments that you are facing. But you're not alone. We're going to stand with you in this. And let us hear from you, Anne, okay?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And so here we are at the end of our program, honey. So we want to invite all of you to listen to us the first Monday of every month for our monthly Marriage Monday program. We receive your questions at Women of Grace at EWTN.com. You can send them that way. You can leave them on our listener call-in line till we're together again. God bless you now, and Happy New Year. Bye.